The bass thumped through my chest, a reckless pulse that matched the tequila burning in my veins. I stumbled through the crowded rooftop bar, the Seattle skyline blurring into a kaleidoscope of lights, and then I saw him. Him, the stranger whose face would haunt me for days. By the time I realized my hand was on his chest, his blue eyes locked onto mine, and I was too far gone to care. My name's Elias Navarro, 28, a graphic designer scraping by in a tech startup called Vantage Labs. I'm not the guy who makes scenes. I'm the quiet one, sketching in corners, nursing a beer while my friends chase chaos. But that Saturday night at the Nest, a trendy rooftop spot in Capitol Hill, I was a mess. My best friend, Tara, had dragged me out to celebrate her promotion, and after 3 shots and a breakup I was still raw from, I was spiraling. The bar was a haze of laughter, clinking glasses, and bodies pressed too close. I'd been dodging advances from a guy in a leather jacket when I tripped, my hand landing squarely on the chest of a stranger who looked like he'd walked out of a cologne ad. He was tall, maybe 6 feet 2 inches, with sandy blonde hair cropped close and a jawline that could cut glass. His navy blazer was tailored just right, and those eyes, God, those blue eyes, held a mix of amusement and something deeper, something that made my stomach flip. "You okay there?" he asked, his voice low, steady, like he was used to people falling all over him. I mumbled something incoherent, my hand still on his chest, feeling the warmth through his shirt. The crowd pushed us closer, and for a moment, the world was just us. His breath, my racing heart, the electric hum between us. "I'm so sorry," I finally managed, pulling back, my face burning. "Too much tequila." He smiled, a slow, disarming curve of his lips. "No harm done. Maybe I should thank the tequila." His name, he said, was Julian. No last name, just Julian. We talked, or rather, I rambled, about the city, the music, the way the lights reflected off the Puget Sound. He listened, leaning in, his gaze never wavering. I told him about my art, my dreams of designing album covers, my ex who'd called me too soft before leaving. Julian didn't flinch. He just nodded, like he got it, like he saw me. Tara found me before I could ask for his number. "Eli, we're leaving," she slurred, tugging my arm. I looked back at Julian, who raised his glass, a silent promise of maybe next time. I didn't know then that next time would be Monday morning, in the worst possible way. Monday hit like a freight train. Vantage Labs was buzzing with rumors about the new CEO, some hotshot from New York brought in to shake things up. Our old boss, a laid-back guy who let us work in hoodies, had retired, and the company was bleeding money. I was nursing a hangover and a sketchpad full of half-finished designs when the team gathered in the conference room. The air was thick with nerves, everyone whispering about layoffs, restructuring, the end of our chill startup vibe. Then he walked in. Julian. Same sharp jaw, same piercing blue eyes, but now in a crisp charcoal suit, his presence commanding the room. Julian Caldwell, our new CEO. My stomach dropped to the floor. The guy I'd drunkenly groped at the bar, whose chest I'd practically memorized, was now my boss. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on me for a split second, long enough for my heart to stutter. Did he recognize me? Did he remember the idiot who'd spilled his life story over a spilled drink? "Ladies and gentlemen," Julian began, his voice as smooth as it had been at the bar, "Vantage Labs is at a crossroads. I'm here to ensure we thrive, but that means change. Hard change." His eyes flicked to me again, and I swear I saw a flicker of that same amusement from Saturday night. I sank lower in my chair, praying the earth would swallow me whole. The meeting was a blur of corporate jargon, metrics, scalability, vision. All I could think about was how I'd made a fool of myself in front of the man who now held my career in his hands. Worse, Vantage Labs was my lifeline. I'd poured everything into this job after my ex, Marcus, left. Losing it would mean losing the one thing keeping me grounded. After the meeting, I bolted to my desk, burying myself in mock-ups for a client pitch. But Julian wasn't done with me. An email pinged. Elias Navarro, please meet me in my office at 3 p.m. My heart raced. Was this about Saturday? Was he going to fire me for being unprofessional? I spent the next 2 hours spiraling, imagining every worst-case scenario. At 3 p.m., I knocked on his door, my palms sweaty. Come in, he called. His office was sleek, all glass and steel, with a view of the Space Needle. Julian leaned back in his chair, his tie slightly loosened, looking every bit the CEO, but also, impossibly, the guy from the bar. Elias, he said, his tone unreadable. You're the graphic designer, right? I nodded, my throat dry. Yes, sir. Call me Julian. He paused, his eyes searching mine. You look familiar. Have we met? My face burned. He knew. He was toying with me. I don't think so. I lied, my voice barely above a whisper. He leaned forward, his elbows on the desk. Funny. I could have sworn I met a guy named Elias at the Nest on Saturday. Talked about art. Made quite an impression. His lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but close enough to make my knees weak. I wanted to die. That might have been me, I admitted, staring at the floor. I'm sorry if I was inappropriate. Julian laughed, a low, warm sound that caught me off guard. Inappropriate. You were charming. Honest. I like that. He stood, walking around the desk, closer than he needed to be. But I need to know something, Elias. Are you as good at your job as you are at spilling your heart to strangers? I blinked, caught between panic and something else. Hope, maybe? I think so. My designs are solid. I can show you. Good, he said, his voice softening. Because I'm counting on you. This company needs fresh ideas, and I think you've got them. He paused, his gaze lingering. And maybe we can continue our conversation from Saturday. Sober this time. I left his office in a daze, my head spinning. Julian Caldwell wasn't just my boss. He was a mystery, a spark, a risk I wasn't sure I could take. But as I sat back at my desk, sketching furiously, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was starting. Something that could break me, or make me whole. The next week at Vantage Labs was chaos wrapped in ambition. Julian's vision for the company was relentless. New branding, bolder campaigns, a pivot to compete with the tech giants. My team was tasked with redesigning the entire visual identity, and I was suddenly at the center of it. Julian had singled out my portfolio during a team meeting, calling my work raw, human, exactly what we need. I was flattered, but the pressure was crushing. Every late night at the office, I felt his presence, even when he wasn't there. His words from that first meeting, continue our conversation, hung over me like a promise I didn't know how to keep. I avoided him as much as I could, sticking to my cubicle, headphones on, sketching until my hands cramped. But Julian had a way of finding me. A casual, nice work, Elias, as he passed my desk. A hand on my shoulder during a brainstorming session, lingering just a second too long. Each moment sent my heart into overdrive, a mix of fear and something I hadn't felt since Marcus, desire. I hated it. I couldn't afford to want him, not when he was my boss, not when I was still piecing myself back together. Tara, of course, had no patience for my panic. Eli, you're overthinking this, she said one night over beers at a dive bar in Fremont. The guy likes you. He's hot. He's single. And he's clearly into you. What's the problem? He's my boss, Tara. I hissed, glancing around like Julian might pop out of nowhere. If I screw this up, I lose my job. My apartment. Everything. She rolled her eyes. Or you could, live a little. You haven't dated since Marcus. Maybe this is your shot. I didn't tell her the whole truth, that I was terrified of feeling again. Marcus had been my first real love, the guy I thought I'd build a life with. When he left, saying I was too much work, It gutted me. I'd spent the last year rebuilding, focusing on my art, my job. Julian was a wild card, and I wasn't ready to gamble. But fate, or Julian, had other plans. On Friday, he called me into his office again. This time, it was about a pitch for a major client, a music streaming startup called SoundVibe. "I want you to lead the design," he said, handing me a brief. "Your work has soul. They'll love it." I stared at the brief, my mind racing. This was huge, a career-defining opportunity. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Because I trust you," he said simply, his eyes locking onto mine. "And because I see something in you, Elias. Something rare." I mumbled a thank you and fled, my heart pounding. That night, I stayed late, sketching concepts for SoundVibe. The office was quiet, just the hum of the AC and the glow of my screen. Around 10 p.m., I heard footsteps. Julian, in a black sweater and jeans, looking less like a CEO and more like the guy from the bar. "Burning the midnight oil?" he asked, leaning against my cubicle. "Trying to," I said, my voice tight. "This pitch is a lot." He pulled up a chair, sitting closer than necessary. "Show me what you've got." I walked him through my sketches, bold colors, fluid shapes, a vibe that screamed music and freedom. He listened, nodding, asking questions that showed he actually cared. When I finished, he leaned back, a small smile playing on his lips. "You're brilliant, you know that." I laughed, nervous. "I'm just doing my job." "No," he said, his voice low. "You're doing more than that. You're telling a story. That's why I picked you." The air between us shifted, heavy with something unspoken. I wanted to look away, but his eyes held me. "Julian," I started, my voice shaking. "About Saturday, I didn't mean to." "Stop," he said gently, his hand brushing mine on the desk. "You don't need to apologize. I'm glad it happened. It's why I can't stop thinking about you." My breath caught. This was dangerous, too dangerous. He was my boss, my future, my everything I could lose. But in that moment, with his hand on mine, I didn't care. I leaned closer, or maybe he did, and for a heartbeat, I thought we might kiss. Then my phone buzzed, shattering the moment. It was Tara, checking if I was still alive. I pulled back, my face burning. "I should go," I mumbled, grabbing my bag. Julian stood, his expression unreadable. "Get some rest, Elias. We've got a big week ahead." I nodded, practically running out of the office. But as I rode the bus home, the city lights blurring past, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was falling, fast, hard, and straight into trouble. The SoundVibe pitch consumed my life. Days blurred into late nights, my desk a chaos of coffee cups and sketch pads. Julian was everywhere, leading meetings, reviewing drafts, his presence a constant pull. He kept it professional, but there were moments, a glance that lingered, a smile that felt like it was just for me. I was drowning in him, and I didn't know how to stop. The team was on edge, too. My coworker, Priya, a coder with a sharp tongue, warned me to watch my back. "Caldwell's charming, but he's ruthless," she said one afternoon, tossing me a granola bar. "He fired half the New York office before coming here. Don't get too cozy." Her words stuck with me, a cold splash of reality. Julian was a CEO, not a fairy tale prince. If I crossed a line, I'd be the one paying the price. Still, I couldn't shake him. Every time we worked late, every time he praised my designs, I felt it. The spark, the pull, the danger. The night before the pitch, we were the last ones in the office. I was tweaking a logo, my eyes burning, when Julian appeared with takeout from a Thai place down the street. "You need fuel," he said, setting a container of pad CEW in front of me. "Thanks," I said, surprised. We ate in silence at first, the city humming outside. Then he spoke. "Why graphic design, Elias? What drives you?" I hesitated, stirring my noodles. "It's freedom. I grew up in a small town, always hiding who I was. Drawing was my escape. It still is. He nodded, his eyes softening. I get that. I grew up in a place where being out wasn't an option. Took me years to stop hiding. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. Julian was gay? I'd assumed, hoped, but hearing it was different. It made him real, vulnerable, not just the untouchable CEO. How'd you do it? I asked. Stop hiding. He leaned back, his gaze distant. I had to choose myself. My family, my old job, they wanted someone I wasn't. So I left, built my own life. His words hit hard. I'd been running from myself since Marcus, afraid to feel, to risk. But Julian, he was fearless. Or at least, he seemed that way. What about now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Are you still choosing yourself? His eyes met mine, intense, unguarded. I'm trying. But sometimes, someone comes along and makes it harder. His hand brushed mine again, deliberate this time. My heart pounded, and before I could think, I leaned in. Our lips met, soft at first, then hungry, desperate. The world fell away, Vantage Labs, the pitch, the risks. It was just us, tangled in a moment that felt like it could burn down everything. Then his phone rang, a shrill reminder of reality. He pulled back, cursing under his breath. I'm sorry, he said, his voice rough. I shouldn't have. It's okay. I lied, my chest tight. We're good. But we weren't. The next day, the Sound Vibe pitch was a success. My designs won them over, and the team erupted in cheers. Julian shook my hand, his touch professional but electric. Great work, Elias, he said, his voice clipped. I nodded, forcing a smile, but inside, I was unraveling. I'd kissed my boss. I'd crossed a line, and I wanted to do it again. That night, I went to the nest, hoping to drown my thoughts in whiskey. Tara was there, reading me like an open book. You're in deep, aren't you? She said, sipping her gin. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted. He's everything. But he's my boss. If this goes wrong, then you'll survive, she said firmly. You always do. But Eli, don't run from this. Not if it's real. I didn't know if it was real. All I knew was that Julian was under my skin, and I was terrified of what came next. Weeks passed, and Vantage Labs was thriving. The Sound Vibe deal brought in new clients, and my designs were suddenly everywhere. Billboards, apps, social media. Julian praised me publicly, but privately, he kept his distance. No more late-night talks, no more stolen touches. It was like our kiss had never happened, and it killed me. I threw myself into work, sketching until my hands ached, trying to forget the way his lips felt against mine. But Seattle's a small world. One rainy evening, I ran into him at a bookstore in Pike Place Market. He was browsing poetry, his coat damp, his hair mussed. He looked human, not like the untouchable CEO. Elias, he said, startled, a book of Rumi in his hands. Didn't expect to see you here. Same, I said, my heart racing. We stood there, awkward, the air thick with everything we weren't saying. Finally, I blurted, why are you avoiding me? He flinched, setting the book down. I'm trying to do the right thing. You're my employee. I can't. Can't what? I pressed, stepping closer. Feel something? Because I do, Julian. And I think you do too. He looked away, his jaw tight. You don't understand. If we do this, it's not just us. It's the company, your career, my reputation. I've seen what happens when things like this go wrong. So that's it. I asked, my voice breaking. You're just gonna pretend nothing happened? He met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw fear in them. I don't want to hurt you, Elias. But I don't know how to do this without breaking everything. I wanted to argue, to fight, but his words stopped me. He was right. This was bigger than us. I nodded, swallowing hard, and walked away, the rain soaking through my jacket. For days, I felt hollow, like I'd lost something I never really had. Then came the company retreat, a weekend in the Cascades. I almost didn't go, but Tara convinced me. You need to face him, she said. closure, or whatever. The retreat was all team-building nonsense. Ropes courses, campfires, forced bonding. Julian was there, polished as ever, but I caught him watching me, his eyes heavy with something unspoken. On the last night, by the lake, I found him alone, skipping stones across the water. I didn't plan to talk, but my feet moved anyway. "Nice throw," I said, picking up a stone. He glanced at me, a small smile breaking through. Years of practice. He paused, then added, "I'm sorry, Elias, for pulling away, for making you feel like you didn't matter." I tossed my stone, watching it skip. "You didn't. I thought we had something." "We did," he said quietly. "We do. But I'm scared too. I've built my life on control, on making the right choices. You make me want to risk it all." My heart stopped. "Then risk it," I said, turning to him. "I'm not asking for forever. Just a chance." He stepped closer, the moonlight catching his eyes. "You're dangerous, Elias Navarro," he whispered, and then he kissed me. Not like before, rushed and desperate, but slow, deliberate, like he was choosing me. The world didn't disappear this time. It expanded, full of possibility, full of us. We didn't have all the answers. Monday morning, we'd faced the office, the rumors, the risks. But as we stood by the lake, his hand in mine, I knew one thing. Love was worth it. Not the fairy tale kind, but the messy, real kind. The kind that finds you when you're drunk, broken, and least expecting it. The kind that makes you brave.